Hello, English learners, and welcome to English Podcast. I'm so happy you're here.
Hi, everyone.
How you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for asking.
Great.
Thrilled to be chatting with you and all our listeners about something super useful for anyone learning English.
You know, one of the trickiest things about learning a new language is figuring out how to say no politely.
Oh, for sure.
It's something we all need to do,
Yeah.
right? But it can feel awkward, especially in a new language.
It really can.
Yeah.
We often worry about sounding rude or disappointing someone, even when we have a perfectly good reason to decline a request.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So today, let's talk about why no is such a powerful word
Oh,
and explore some easy ways to say it in English
right.
without feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah.
What's fascinating is that learning to say no effectively is actually about setting boundaries.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It's like creating a little space for yourself where you can feel comfortable and in control of your learning experience.
Okay, so let's unpack this idea of boundaries a bit more.
Okay.
What does that look like when we're trying to learn English?
Well, imagine this.
Okay.
You've had a long day and you're feeling exhausted. But a friend invites you to have a long English conversation practice.
Yeah.
You really want to relax.
Right.
But you also don't want to let your friend down.
I've been there.
That's where setting a boundary comes in.
So how could you handle that situation?
Yeah,
I bet a lot of our listeners can relate to feeling that pressure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You could try saying something like, I really appreciate the invitation, but I'm pretty tired tonight. Maybe we could practice for a shorter time or chat tomorrow.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
You're acknowledging your friend's request,
Right.
but you're also being honest about your own needs.
Exactly.
And you're offering an alternative, which shows you're still committed to practicing English.
Exactly. And you know, it's interesting. When you start setting boundaries, you might notice that people actually respect you more.
Oh, really?
They see that you're someone who values their time and energy, and they're less likely to take advantage of your good nature.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
I think sometimes as language learners,
Yeah.
we can feel like we have to say yes to every opportunity to practice,
Right.
even if we're not feeling up to it.
I've seen that happen so often.
Yeah.
But the truth is, you'll learn more effectively when you're feeling relaxed and confident.
Okay.
And saying no when you need to
Right.
can help create that positive learning environment.
So we've established that saying no is important for setting boundaries
Right.
and creating a healthy learning environment.
Yeah.
But how do we actually say no politely in English?
Right.
Do you have some go-to phrases that our listeners can use?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There are a few simple phrases that work really well in most situations. One of my favorites is, I appreciate it, but I can't. It's direct. But the I appreciate it part softens the blow and shows that you're not rejecting the person,
Okay.
just their request.
I like that it sounds sincere but firm.
Right. And it can be used in so many different contexts.
Yeah, for sure.
For example, if someone asks you to help them with their English homework,
Okay.
but you're already busy with your own, you could say, I appreciate it, but I can't. I have a lot of my own work to do right now.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
It clearly explains your situation without sounding rude or dismissive.
Exactly.
What are some other phrases we can use?
Another good one is, I have other commitments.
Oh, okay.
This is great for when you genuinely have something else scheduled, whether it's another study session, a work meeting, or even just some much-needed downtime.
I use that one all the time.
Yeah.
It's so helpful for politely declining invitations
Right.
without having to go into a long explanation.
Exactly. And it keeps things open-ended. You're not saying never, just not right now.
So we've got, I appreciate it, but I can't. And I have other commitments.
Right.
Those are super useful.
Yes.
Any others we should add to our toolkit?
One more that's really handy is maybe another time.
Okay.
This one's great because it leaves the possibility for doing the activity in the future
Right.
without making any promises you might not be able to keep.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like a gentle way to postpone something
Exactly.
without completely shutting it down.
Yeah.
It's perfect for situations where you might be interested in doing something eventually, but just not right now.
You got it. So you see, there are plenty of ways to say no politely in English. And the more you practice using these phrases,
Right.
the more natural they'll become.
That's so encouraging.
Yeah.
I bet our listeners are already feeling more confident about setting boundaries,
Hopefully.
making control of their learning.
Yes.
Now let's dive into the benefits of saying no. It's not just about avoiding things we don't want to do, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Saying no can actually have a huge positive impact on your overall well-being,
Oh, wow.
especially when it comes to language learning.
Okay, so spill the tea.
All right.
What are some of the benefits we can expect when we start saying no more often?
Well, one of the most obvious benefits is having more time for yourself.
Okay.
Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
When you say no to an extra English class or a study session, you're not feeling up to.
Right.
You're freeing up time to do something else you enjoy.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I know I've definitely felt burned out in the past
Mm-hmm.
when I've tried to cram too much English practice into my schedule.
It's a common experience.
Yeah.
And when you're feeling overwhelmed, it's harder to learn effectively.
Mm-hmm.
So saying no can actually help you learn more in the long run
Oh, interesting.
because you're giving yourself the space to recharge
Okay.
and come back to your studies with fresh energy.
That's a really interesting perspective.
Yeah.
It's like saying no is actually a form of self-care for language learners.
Exactly. And self-care is essential for any kind of learning,
Right.
especially language learning, which can be quite demanding.
And besides having more time and energy,
Yeah,
are there any other benefits to saying no?
absolutely.
Okay.
Saying no can also reduce stress. When you're constantly saying yes to things you don't really want to do,
Yeah.
it can create a lot of pressure and anxiety. But when you start saying no,
Right.
you're taking that pressure off yourself.
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
I used to feel so guilty if I turned down an opportunity to practice English, even if I was already feeling stressed and overwhelmed.
I think a lot of learners feel that way.
Yeah.
But remember, it's okay to prioritize your own well-being. You'll
Well-
learn better when you're feeling calm and relaxed.
So saying no can give us more time,
Yes.
reduce stress,
Mhm.
and make learning more enjoyable.
Right.
Are there any other benefits we should know about?
Another big one is that saying no can actually improve your relationships.
Really?
How so? Well, when you set boundaries and communicate your needs clearly, people start to understand and respect you more.
Okay.
They see that you're not a pushover
Right.
and that you're not going to say yes to everything just to please them.
It's an interesting point.
Yeah.
I guess it shows that you're confident and capable of making your own decisions.
Exactly. And that confidence can be really attractive,
Yeah.
both personally and professionally.
So saying no can make us more confident.
It's true.
That's a bonus I didn't expect.
When you realize that you have the power to say no
Mm-hmm.
and that it doesn't make you a bad person,
Right.
it can really boost your self-esteem.
Okay.
And that confidence can spill over into other areas of your life,
Mm-hmm.
including your English learning.
This is all so fascinating.
Yeah.
I feel like we're uncovering a whole new dimension to language learning.
Right.
It's not just about memorizing words and grammar rules.
Right.
It's also about developing these essential life skills, like setting boundaries and communicating effectively.
That's exactly right. And those skills are valuable no matter what language you're speaking.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about why saying no is important, how to say it politely,
Yes.
and the amazing benefits it can bring to our lives and our language learning journey.
Right.
But now I think it's time to put all this knowledge into practice.
I agree. Let's do some role playing to help our listeners feel
Okay.
more comfortable using these phrases in real life situations.
Perfect. I love a good role play.
Yeah.
It's like a dress rehearsal for real life.
Exactly.
Okay, let's imagine this scenario.
Okay.
You're at a language exchange event,
Okay.
and someone asks you to practice English with them for an hour,
Mm-hmm.
but you're only free for 30 minutes.
Okay.
How would you handle that?
That's a great scenario,
Yeah.
and it's one that many language learners encounter. What would you say if you were in that situation?
Let me think.
Okay.
I guess I could say,
Yeah.
I appreciate you asking, but I only have about 30 minutes free right now.
Okay.
Would you like to practice for that long?
Yeah.
Or maybe we could schedule a longer session for another time.
That's fantastic.
Okay.
You were polite, you explained your situation clearly,
Mm-hmm.
and you offered an alternative solution.
You've got this.
That feels good.
Yeah,
I'm already starting to feel more confident about using these phrases.
that's what I love to hear.
Okay, let's try another one.
Right.
Imagine your English teacher asks you to give a presentation in front of the class next week,
Okay.
but you're feeling really nervous about it.
Mm-hmm.
How could you politely decline?
That's a tricky one.
Yeah.
Public speaking can be intimidating,
You're sure?
especially in a new language.
Right?
But remember, it's perfectly okay to say no if you're not feeling ready.
Okay.
What comes to mind?
Let's see, I could say something like,
I appreciate the opportunity, but I'm not quite ready to give a presentation yet.
Okay.
Maybe I could present on a smaller topic in a few weeks
Okay.
when I've had more time to prepare.
That's a great response.
Okay.
You acknowledged the request, explained your reason for declining, and offered a compromise.
Great.
Well done.
I'm starting to feel like a pro at this.
You're a natural.
Haha.
And remember, practice makes perfect. The more you use these phrases,
Right.
the easier it will become to say no, confidently and politely in any situation.
Okay, English learners, I hope you're feeling inspired and empowered
Yes.
to start setting boundaries and saying no in your own English learning journey.
Absolutely.
Remember, it's not about being rude or selfish.
Right.
It's about taking care of yourself
Exactly.
and creating a positive learning environment where you can thrive.
Yeah. Welcome back to English Podcast, everyone.
It's great to have you back for part 2 of our conversation about saying no in English.
Last time we talked about the importance of setting boundaries and explored some polite phrases you can use to decline requests.
Right.
This time I thought it would be helpful to dive into some specific scenarios
Okay.
you might encounter as English learners.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think real-world examples are so helpful for understanding how to use these phrases in practice.
Absolutely.
It's like having a little cheat sheet for navigating tricky situations.
Exactly.
Right.
So let's imagine you're in an English class
Okay.
and your teacher asks you to read aloud a passage you haven't had a chance to practice yet.
Okay.
You're feeling a bit unprepared and nervous. What could you do?
That's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah.
I know, I've definitely felt that pressure before.
Right.
I think I would try saying something like,
Okay.
I'm not quite ready to read aloud yet. Would it be okay if I practiced a bit more and read it later?
That's a perfect response.
Okay.
You're being honest about your feelings. But you're also showing your teacher that you're still willing to participate.
Right.
And you're offering a solution that works for both of you.
I like that.
Yeah,
It's a win-win situation.
exactly.
Okay, let's try another one.
Okay.
Imagine you're chatting with an English-speaking friend online,
Okay.
and they suggest watching a movie together. But you've already made plans to go out with your family.
Right.
How could you politely decline?
That's a common situation.
Yeah.
Especially with friends in different time zones.
Right.
What would you say to your friend?
Maybe I could say,
Yeah.
thanks for the invite, but I already have plans with my family tonight.
Okay.
Maybe we could watch a movie together another time.
That's a great way to handle it.
Okay.
You're thanking your friend for the invitation, explaining why you can't accept,
Right.
and suggesting an alternative. And by saying another time,
Right.
you're keeping the door open for future plans.
I'm starting to feel like a pro at saying no already.
Yeah.
It's amazing how a few simple phrases can make such a difference.
You're doing great.
Thanks.
And it's not just about using the right words. It's also about your tone of voice and body language.
Okay.
When you say no, try to sound confident and assertive, but also friendly and respectful.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I guess if you sound hesitant or apologetic,
Right.
it might make people think you're not really serious about saying no.
Exactly. So stand tall, make eye contact, and use a clear, firm voice.
Okay.
And remember, it's okay to smile.
Right.
Saying no doesn't have to be a negative experience.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like we're turning no into a positive and empowering word.
Absolutely. And, the more you practice saying no in English,
Right.
the easier it will become. It's like any skill, the more you use it, the more natural it will feel.
Okay, let's try one more scenario.
Okay.
Imagine you're at a party
Okay.
and someone offers you some food you don't like.
Ooh, that's a tricky one. Food can be a sensitive topic in some cultures.
Right.
What do you think would be a good approach?
Well, I think honesty is always the best policy,
Okay.
but I would try to be gentle about it.
Yeah.
Maybe I could say,
Okay.
thank you so much, but I'm not a big fan of whatever the food is.
Yeah.
It looks delicious, though.
That's a great response.
Okay.
You're expressing your gratitude for the offer, explaining why you're declining,
Right.
and complimenting the food. It's a
Right.
perfect balance of honesty and politeness.
I'm feeling so much more confident about saying no in English now.
Awesome.
It's amazing how much we've learned just by practicing these scenarios together.
I'm glad to hear it. And remember, it's okay to make mistakes.
Right.
Everyone does, especially when they're learning a new language.
For sure.
The important thing is to keep practicing and don't be afraid to try new things.
That's such great advice.
Yeah.
I think sometimes as language learners,
Yeah.
we can get so caught up in trying to be perfect that we forget to just enjoy the process of learning.
I agree. It's important to remember that language learning is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
There will always be new things to learn and new challenges to overcome. But that's what makes it so exciting.
Well said.
Yeah.
And, learning to say no is just one small part of that journey. But it's a really important part because it helps us to define our own path.
Right.
And create a learning experience that works for us.
Exactly. And when we feel comfortable and in control of our learning,
Right.
we're more likely to achieve our goals and have fun along the way.
Speaking of goals, I think it's time to revisit our homework assignment from last time.
Okay.
Did you all have a chance to think about one area of your English learning
Yeah.
where you could benefit from saying no?
I hope so.
It's a simple exercise,
Yeah.
but can be really powerful.
Absolutely.
When you identify those areas where you're feeling pressured or overcommitted,
Right.
you can start to create more space for the things that really matter.
And remember, saying no doesn't mean you're giving up on your English learning goals.
Right.
It just means you're choosing to focus on what's most important to you right now.
That's right. It's all about prioritizing your time and energy
Mm-hmm.
and making sure you're enjoying the process.
So what are you waiting for?
Yeah.
Go out there and practice saying no in English.
You got this.
Yes.
And remember, we're here to support you every step of the way.
Now, before we move on to part 3,
Okay.
I want to leave you with one final thought.
Ooh, I love final thoughts.
Okay.
What is it?
Think about this.
Okay.
When you say no to something you don't want to do,
Right.
you're creating space for something else to come into your life.
Oh.
It could be a new opportunity, a new friendship, or even just a few moments of peace and quiet.
Right.
So embrace the power of no and see what amazing things happen.
That's such a beautiful way to think about it. It's
Yeah.
like closing one door to open another,
Mm-hmm.
one that might lead to even greater adventures and discoveries.
Exactly. So be brave, be bold, and say no to the things that don't serve you.
Okay.
You might be surprised at what you find on the other side.
English learners, that's it for part 2 of our conversation about saying no in English.
We hope you found it helpful and inspiring. Stay tuned for part 3,
Okay.
where we'll explore even more strategies for communicating effectively and building your confidence in English.
In the meantime, keep practicing your English.
Yes,
Remember to be kind to yourself.
absolutely.
And don't be afraid to say no.
Bye for now.
Welcome back, English learners. We're on the final part of our conversation about saying no in English.
It's been fantastic exploring this topic with you all.
As we've been talking about saying no and setting boundaries,
Yeah.
it's made me realize that these skills are essential, not just for language learning,
Right.
but for life in general.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture,
Okay.
setting boundaries is all about taking care of ourselves, both physically and mentally. And that's important no matter what you're doing or where you are in life.
That's so true.
Oh.
I think as language learners, we can sometimes put a lot of pressure on ourselves
Yeah,
to progress quickly and speak perfectly.
for sure.
But it's important to remember that it's okay to take breaks,
Absolutely.
set realistic goals,
Yes,
and say no to things that are adding too much stress.
absolutely. It's about finding that balance
Yeah.
between pushing yourself to grow and being kind to yourself along the way.
Right.
And you know what? Setting boundaries can actually make you a more effective learner in the long run.
Really? I'm curious how.
Well, when you're not feeling overwhelmed or stressed, you're more likely to be engaged and motivated in your learning.
Yeah.
You can focus better, absorb information more easily,
Right.
and actually retain more of what you're learning.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
It's like creating a positive and supportive learning environment for yourself
exactly.
where you can thrive and grow at your own pace.
And when you feel good about your learning experience,
You're more likely to stick with it and achieve your goals.
this has been such an eye-opening conversation.
It has.
I feel like I've gained so much more than just a few phrases for saying no.
Right.
It's really about developing a whole new mindset and a set of skills that can benefit us in all areas of life.
It really is. And the beauty of language learning
Yeah.
is that it often forces us to confront these kinds of personal challenges and develop these essential life skills. It's like we're not just learning a new language,
Right.
we're also learning how to be better communicators,
Yeah.
how to set healthy boundaries, and how to take care of ourselves.
Well said. So, English learners, as we wrap up this conversation about saying no,
Yes.
remember that it's okay to prioritize your needs,
Absolutely.
set boundaries, and communicate clearly.
Don't be afraid to use those phrases we practiced today.
Right.
And remember, every time you say no to something that isn't serving you,
Yeah,
you're saying yes to something that is. What a powerful way to put it.
it is.
So what area of your English learning could benefit most from a no?
Right.
What boundary are you ready to set today to unlock your full potential?
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Thanks for joining us on this journey, everyone.
Yes, thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to English Podcast
Yes.
for more tips and insights on your English learning journey.
And be sure to share this episode with your friends who are also learning English.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep exploring,
Yes.
and keep saying no to the things that don't bring you joy.
Bye for now.